What is going on, guys? Money Webby here, back again, week 5 with my initial preview and just dive into this slate for the week. So originally, I would just have one video uploaded around Tuesday or Wednesday with my full kind of selection of my favorite picks. But now I'm just going to do 6 guys, similar to what I did for the MLB and NBA. Someone else brought up to me that they would like to see that kind of video, the Money 6, I call it, for my favorite 6 guys to really pop off the page for me, just based on matchups, based on stats that align for them in this week. And yeah, so I have the screen for DraftKings up, but this also applies to FanDuel. The salaries aren't too big of a difference between the two sites where it really kind of makes me not want to go with that person. Obviously, ownership can be a little bit different for these players on different sites, but still, the matchup will still remain the same. They still have really good upside. I think they can pop off this week. So if you would like to see these videos continue every single Monday, where I do my favorite 6 guys before, like avoiding all the noise and everything else that might happen. Obviously, things change during the week, but this is the first initial preview. So drop a like if you'd like to see this going forward. Really helps me out with the like, so thank you if you can do that. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on these videos. Let's hop right into it. So first guy up, I'm going to go with DeShaun Watson. I mean, he's been very up and down, but I think he's going to reach a high in this week in this matchup. So if you just look at the game, like I said, 31-12 to 29-12. So it's been really hit or miss for Watson, but the upside will still remain the same here in this spot against the Atlanta Falcons. They're a little bit banged up, lost one of their best playmakers on defense in Keanu O'Neal on the safety, so that can definitely open things up. DeAndre Hopkins has had some tough luck in the matchups the last 2 weeks, has really been limited, actually the last 3 weeks against Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey got the better of him there against Casey Hayward and also against James Bradbury. But here in this matchup, he might see some Trufant, but I think he can get the better of him in that matchup. He's still one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in all of football. So he's definitely due for a big game. This Texans offense can be really lethal once they get things going, a lot of downfield stuff. So it can be, like I said, hit or miss with a guy like Watson. But the touchdowns just haven't been there. And I think they're due for a breakthrough performance. Just the weapons they have. Will Fuller, he's due for a deep ball. I feel like Kenny Stills can always make a splash play. Kiki Kuti is getting healthier every week. I still think that guy has really good ability from the slot. And they probably will abandon the run a little bit more in this game. I mean, Atlanta's run defense is pretty solid. And they kind of funnel things into the passing game, I would say, because their pass defense is so kind of leaky over the last few weeks, especially without Keanu O'Neal. The last 2 weeks against lesser quarterbacks than Watson, obviously. Jacoby Brissett, he got 23.8 fantasy points in this matchup. And Mariota, who looked really bad against the Jacksonville Jaguars, had a really good game, 23.2 fantasy points in this matchup on just 27 pass attempts, so didn't even need to do that much. It was a negative game script for Mariota there. I think this game has more potential for a shootout and could be a really good spot for Watson to go off again. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my quarterback. And now for running back, I think Ezekiel Elliott as well, due for a really big game here. So, I mean, the first 3 games, week 1, they kind of limited him only 14 touches. Week 2, touches started to spike up. Solid game, 23 DraftKings points there in that matchup. Wasn't really involved in the receiving game, though. Two catches. And then against Miami, put in some work. It's just that Miami Dolphins aren't a good enough test where I think he only played around 3 quarters, and then they went to Tony Pollard from there on out. But this matchup, the work was there. I mean, 24 touches against the Saints. It just really limited them on a yards per carry basis. It really loaded up the box, and their defensive line got the better end of the Dallas Cowboys. You rarely see that, but they did. I mean, that can happen sometimes. He also lost a fumble. So even despite the fact he was averaging 1.9 yards per carry, I believe that was like one of his worst rushing performances of his career, like top 3 or bottom 3 rushing performance from him. He was still able to get 17.5 DraftKings points. I mean, the receiving spiked up a little bit with 6 catches. I think that will continue to be like that in these closer, more competitive games against solid teams like the Green Bay Packers here. And the Green Bay Packers have been a very good defense to attack for the running game. If you look at their defensive scheme, their defensive coordinator likes to only keep one linebacker on the field, and we saw the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely abuse that on Thursday Night Football, just running him over. Jordan Howard had huge holes time and time again. I believe in that game, Jordan Howard scored like 30 DraftKings points, maybe even more than that. He had 3 touchdowns. So he went absolutely off. Ezekiel Elliott, better playmaker than Jordan Howard, and he should be able to get some big-sized holes in this matchup with just one linebacker. It'll be interesting to see if the Packers do adjust, but I think to his heart, he's going to want to keep that kind of scheme. He doesn't want to change it up that drastically. We will see, though. But I think the matchup is too good for Zeke to pass up. Like I said, the Packers' run defense really funneling things in. If you look at the numbers, they've allowed 163 rushing yards per game to running backs the last 3 games. So lock and load Zeke in this matchup. He's going to be eating there. Then for my second running back, we're going to go with David Montgomery. A similar kind of buy low, as I mentioned, with the Leonard Fournette last week, and he popped off with 240 so yards in that game. Didn't get the touchdown, but still the opportunity was there as I was trying to drive home in that kind of spot where sometimes the volume can just even out and then the production goes up, even though that he hasn't been very efficient. Things will work itself out over time with that kind of touches. So David Montgomery, similar spot here. 24 touches last week against the Vikings. Bears defense, so good at keeping opposing offenses off the field. So the opportunities are going to be there for him when especially when they're facing a bad offense like this in the Oakland Raiders. So I think the Bears are going to absolutely kill Derek Carr in this offense. And it's just a great spot for David Montgomery to go off here with the touches. I think he'll get over 20 touches in this game. He got the most snaps of the year with 48 snaps last week. And things are trending up. His salary went down a good amount as well here at $5,200, down from $58 last week. And this is probably his best matchup of the year, I would say, just based on the defense that he's playing. Probably the worst defense that he's played so far. And the Oakland Raiders, and also they lost Vontaze Burfict to that suspension. He's a linebacker, can definitely have some impact in the run game when you lose a linebacker. So David Montgomery, I think he'll be able to find the end zone as well. And Chase Daniel, honestly, the offense could be better without Mitch Trubisky. I mean, Mitch has been playing not great football so far this year. So, I mean, we'll see how that goes as well. But 5,200, good value considering the touch upside against this Raiders defense. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my second running back. Now moving over to wide receiver, Tyler Boyd here against the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals played a very fast pace, feed into their opposing offense. If the game does stay close, then it gives a lot of upside of plays to an offense like the Cincinnati Bengals here. Tyler Boyd has the best matchup on the field. The Arizona Cardinals have been very prone to letting up receiving yards and just fantasy production to slot wide receivers. And Tyler Boyd can definitely get the better of this matchup. So I expect a fairly close game here. Both teams not good at all by any stretch of the imagination. Both have 0 wins currently as I'm recording this. The Bengals could win on Monday night, but we'll see, I guess, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Tyler Boyd continues to be the focal point of the offense despite week 1 with John Ross going off. There were some kind of fluky plays for Ross where the Seahawks just messed up, and he still has a 26% target share heading into week 4 for the Cincinnati Bengals. That's tied for the 7th highest among wide receivers, so the opportunity is there. Had a tough matchup against the Bengals, still put up 6 for 68, and against San Fran, 10 for 122. I think he has that kind of upside where he's able to get a lot of catches. He's been great for PPR scoring, hasn't even found the end zone, and he's still getting over 12 DraftKings points per game week in, week out, and this is probably his best matchup of the year. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my first wide receiver. Then I want to pair him up with another slot wide receiver. Had to face an extremely tough Buffalo defense last week. 4 for 30. Had a fumble, but it wasn't lost. 7 DraftKings points. His worst game of the year. So I think the Patriots, typically when they have an offensive showing like that, the next week, they're just going to steamroll the team. So I think this is a get-right game for the Patriots offense. Julian Edelman especially has the best matchup of the wide receivers in this game. And I think he honestly could go for over 100 yards and a good amount of catches. We always love Julian Edelman in full-point PPR. reception machine. And yeah, this is a spot where I think he can get it done. So I think he can find the end zone as well. 6,300. I think he can go over 20 fantasy points in this game, so a good value. I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there as my second wide receiver. And for the final guy, we're going to go with Jimbo Slice, Jimmy Graham at 4,300 here. This is assuming that Davante Adams is out. If Davante Adams doesn't play, then Jimmy Graham's kind of a lock, I feel like, at 4,300. We saw as soon as Davante Adams won out of that game, it seemed like Jimmy Graham had 6 targets maybe after that. I'm not sure the exact numbers. I didn't dive into that, but it was definitely a lot of work going his way. It showed that Rodgers trusts him as that next guy to step up with Davante Adams out, and the Dallas Cowboys have been pretty prone to allowing yards to tight end so far this year, and their defense didn't look that great against the Saints team without Drew Brees. So I think this will be an interesting matchup. Byron Jones is always a pretty solid cornerback on the outside, so maybe he gives MVS a little bit of trouble there, and it just funnels things in for Jimmy Graham over the middle. And honestly, he's looked pretty good and when he's played and been given opportunities this year. I know in week 3, I believe, he got hurt in that game, or it was week 2. One of these games, he didn't get as many snaps, but he's still getting the weeks that he played the full game. I believe he's 8th in routes run among tight ends, so that's not too bad. And without Davante Adams, he'll see a higher target share with those routes as well, and probably even get more routes with that considered. So 4,300, good value. I'm going to go ahead and lock him in there. And like I said, obviously Davante Adams does play. Jimmy Graham, not nearly the same, and considering his value and his opportunity in that matchup. But those are the 6 plays. My money 6, you got Watson, Zeke, Montgomery, Tyler Boyd, Julian Edelman, and Jimmy Graham. Hope you enjoyed it. Probably still going to upload a full preview maybe do a day later on Thursday with a few more plays at every position. I don't know if I should mention these guys again, but maybe a different kind of type of video. I might have to come up with something a little bit different maybe later in the week for another video. But I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like in the video. If you did, let's try to get over 100 likes if possible. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't either. Good luck this week if I don't see you again on one of my videos, and we'll see you back here again next time.